Hello, welcome back. So now in this part, we will discuss about the design methods. So the basic design methods that we have for the structural design. So those methods are working stress method, ultimate load method, and the limit state method. So in this lecture, we are mainly discuss about the limit state method. But about the working stress method, this is already discussed in the previous course, which was concrete technology and basics of RCC. But for a preview, I would say that working stress method, it is basically the elastic method, which means all the elements designed using this method, they are actually the stress within in those elements are within the elastic range. They never experience any load higher than the elastic range. So in that case, the concept of working stress method, it can be described as like permissible stresses should be greater than or equals to the working load. So the load which is coming on the building, it should be less than the permissible stresses, which may, it is this permissible stresses, they are generally calculated using, these are actually the fraction of the strength of material. So these permissible stresses, these are basically the fraction of strength of material. So basically, if we use concrete, then say, for example, if we use M20 grade of concrete, so in that case, 20 is the 28 days characteristic strength of concrete. So which means it should be, generally we consider this as the maximum strength of concrete. But in the design, we never use 20. We actually use the fraction of this 20. Now, on what basis we do the fraction? So that is being done using the safety factor. So in the working stress method, we generally use a safety factor of 3 for the concrete. So in that case, if we divide this 20 with 3, we get the fraction as approximately 6.67 Newton per mm square. So this is the permissible stress, and this permissible stress should be more than or equals to the working load that is coming on the building. So basically in working stress method, generally this is the concept that we generally follow. Now, in case of next method, which is uh, basically developed after a load of, this working stress method is having a load of drawbacks, and to minimize those drawbacks, the next method which was developed was the ultimate load method. Now, ultimate load method was not dependent on the strength of material; it was actually dependent on the load which is coming on the structure. So in this case, generally there is no talk of permissible stress of material, but generally in this case, what we do is, for example, if on a building, if there is a load P, so in that case, what we generally used to do is we exaggerate this load, say 1.5 times of P. So if the actual load on the building is coming as P, but in the design, what we used to do is we exaggerate this load and then we design. We consider this as the design load and we design our building based on this load. Now, the drawback of this load was there is no consideration of the strength of material in this case because the design was based on the ultimate stress or ultimate load theory, and the sections which was designed using this method, they were very light because in this method actually we have utilized more strength of the material, and because of that it was okay to carry the load of the said load, but the method failed to service to serve the function of the element, and because of that ultimate load method was banned or it was not used much. And after this the development of the new method, which was, which has taken the good thing of working stress method and the good thing of ultimate load method, and the method which was very comprehensive, and that method is limit state method. So now in this course, we will be designing elements using this method. But in this lecture, first we will study the concept of limit state method and what are the various terms that we generally use in the limit state method. So this limit state method is the advancement over the traditional design philosophy, which is based on the working stress method, and the next method was ultimate load method. So this is basically the development of these two methods. And it says, unlike the working stress method, which is based on the calculation of the service load conditions alone, which means permissible stresses should be more than or equals to the working load. So that is the condition in which we generally calculate the service load only. And unlike the ultimate load method, which is based on the calculation of ultimate load conditions only. So in this method, we generally used to consider the ultimate load condition. And in working stress method, we generally used to consider only the service load condition. So in the limit state method, it aims for the comprehensive and rational solution to design problem by considering the safety at the ultimate load and the serviceability at the working load. So in that case, we have considered the strength phenomena or the strength of material, and also we have take care of in this method we have taken care of load also. So now we will see what is actually the concept of limit state and what is limit state actually. So in this statement, it is written this, that a limit state is a state of impending failure beyond which a structure ceases to perform its intended function satisfactorily in terms of either safety or serviceability. Well, this limit state can also be considered as the failure state. So a limit state is a state of impending failure, which means it is a failure state. And this is the state beyond which structure ceases or stops to perform its intended function. Now, perform to intended function. Now, the function are basically two. Now, first function is the safety. It should provide adequate safety. So if it stops providing the safety, then we consider the failure state, or the serviceability if it fails to serve the function for which the structure is designed. So failure state is the state beyond which structure stops to perform its intended function satisfactorily in terms of either safety or the serviceability. So it means either the structure is collapsed or it becomes unserviceable. So because of the load, structure, if it collapses, still we will consider that limit state occurs. And by chance, if it is not collapsed but it is unserviceable or it is not able to serve its function, in that case also we will say that limit state has reached. So that is the concept, that is the basic concept of this limit state method. And now, based on this failure state, we will try to understand what are the various types of limit state or failure state. These are the state in which a building can be considered, a structure can be considered as the failed. So basically, there are two types of failure state which we will be considering. And first failure is called ultimate limit state or limit state of collapse. So this is the failure state at which structure can collapse. So what are the factors that will lead to the collapse of the structure? Now, this limit state, it actually deals with the strength of the structure. Now, strength can be considered as limit state of collapse, or if the structure overturned, then also it will collapse. It will be considered as collapsed, or it may slide. Then also it will be considered as it has reached the failure state, or it may buckle, or the fatigue fracture. So these are the various phenomena on which we will consider that the limit state of collapse has occurred. So that is the first limit state which with which the structure can fail. The second limit state is the serviceability limit state. Now, serviceability limit state, it actually deals with the discomfort to occupancy, which means, for example, if there is a slab, okay, if there is a slab, and if we provide adequate reinforcement to the slab, then the load which is coming on the slab, it will be resisted by, because of the provision of the reinforcement. So because of that reinforcement and proper provision of that reinforcement, the slab may not fail. But if the thickness of the slab is very thin, so in that case, what will happen? The slab will bend, and because of this bending, because of this bending, there may be a discomfort to the occupants. So if the slab is bending, there will be a discomfort, and the purpose for which we have designed the slab, it will not be fulfilled. So in such case also, as we can say that slab is not collapsing, but it has failed its service. I mean, it is failed in the service for which it is designed. So that is considered under the serviceability limit state. So in this serviceability limit state, structure may not collapse, but it will cause discomfort. It will cause discomfort. So this serviceability can be in terms of the excessive deflection. It can be in terms of crack width. If there are large crack width cracks in the building, then also it will not be, I mean, it will cause discomfort to the occupants. Similarly, if there are vibrations, if there are leakage, or if there are durability issue, or if there are permeability issue, so though all those issues will be considered under the head of serviceability. So these are the two main failure state under which we generally design our building. Now, beside this, there may be some other limit state also, which will be ultimately included in either the ultimate limit state or the serviceability limit state. So other limit state can be excessive vibration. Now, this is a very special case. There may not be excessive vibration in all the building, but say, for example, in case of powerhouse building, if we are designing foundation for the turbine, so when turbine runs, it creates a lot of vibration. So to resist that kind of vibration, we have to design a special foundation. So in that case, we will have to consider this excessive vibration. We have to consider this limit state. Similarly, the fatigue. Now, fatigue is a phenomena, uh, and it occurs because of the cyclic loading. For example, if this is a wire, and if we try to bend this wire, say for example, if we try to bend this wire like this, and again we straight it, again we try to bend it, what will happen? It will break from here. So this kind of failure is basically the fatigue failure. So this failure occurs, say, in case of bridges. So in case of bridges, say this is the bridge, and if the traffic is running, what will happen? This bridge will bend, and when traffic goes off, it will again straighten up. So this cyclic load which is coming here, so this cyclic load may also lead to the failure, and that failure will be known as fatigue failure. So in case of bridge design, in case of steel structure design, generally we consider the fatigue limit state also. So that is again a very special limit state, which we generally not consider in all the buildings or all the structures. Similarly, the next limit state can be fire resistance. So there are some special cases where we have to specially consider the fire resistance, and in that case, we have to follow some IS code recommendations. Similarly, the next limit state, I mean, there can be some other special circumstances also. So any special requirement of the structure which are not covered by any of the more common limit states, such as earthquake. Now, for the design of building, especially for the earthquake. It may be a special condition, or maybe if we have to make our building blast proof, so failure due to the blast can again be considered as a special limit state. So there may be so many failure conditions which may occur in the building, but all those conditions are basically summarized into two categories. One is limit state of collapse and the other one limit state of serviceability. Now we will talk about the characteristic strength and characteristic load. Generally, when we talk about the characteristic strength, it means we are actually talking about the material strength. Now, in case of reinforced concrete, we use concrete and steel. So generally, when we talk, say, for example, if I am using M25 grade of concrete, it means the concrete that I am manufacturing, it should have minimum strength of 25 Newton per mm square. But we know that concrete property, I mean, strength of concrete may affect because of the various factors. And because of that, all the time, if I get concrete, and if it does not, I mean, it may not have the strength of 25 Newton per mm square all the time. So every time in the design calculation, I may not take all the value, all different values. So basically, in the normal design calculation, generally we adopt a single value for each load and each material property. Now, I know that all the time concrete may not have strength of 25 Newton per mm square, but still I have to set a standard in which I would say that there may be some uncertainty. So I have to set a standard, or I have to set a definition which will take care of those uncertainty. Now this uncertainty, because in case of concrete, it may be because of the quality of concrete that we may not achieve all the time because of various factors, because we know that strength of concrete may be affected due to various factors. Like for example, if we add more water, strength of concrete will decrease. So there are various factors. So because of that, IS code has given the definition for the characteristic strength. So what is characteristic strength? We will see that. So generally, as I said, that in the normal design calculation, single value for each load. For example, if we consider that on building A, only load P intensity will be there. Well, it may not be true. Today it is P. Next day it may be less than P, or it may be more than P. But in our design calculation, we can't consider that uncertainty. So to have, I mean, this uncertainty will be there, and to consider this uncertainty, we have to define a proper definition of load, and that load is called characteristic load. Similarly, for the strength, we have to define a proper definition of the strength, which we consider as characteristic strength. Now, first we will see what we understand with the characteristic strength. Now, as per IS code, characteristic strength of concrete, for example, for concrete, it is the value of cube strength below which not more than 5% of the test value may fall. What does it mean? I will take an example. For example, generally we express the strength of concrete by the cube testing, because when we are supposed to find out strength of concrete, we generally test the cubes. So for example, I have 100 cubes for the testing, and these 100 cubes are of M25 concrete. Now, what is the meaning of this definition? According to this definition, when I am going to test these 100 cubes, at least 95 cubes should have a value of strength equals to 25 or more than 25, which means it should, I mean, 95% of the sample should confirm this strength. So that is the definition of characteristic strength for concrete. Now, similarly for steel also, characteristic strength of the steel will be again can be defined by this case. So in case of steel, generally what we do is we conduct the tension strength test. So in that case also, if I have 100 bars of steel, say for example I have Fe 415 steel, and 415 is the yield strength yield strength of steel, or I would say specified yield strength of steel. So when I have 100 bars and if I am testing them, I am testing their tensile strength, then at least 95 bars should have this much strength, which is 415 Newton per mm square. So that is the definition of concrete strength. At least 95% of the sample should pass or should confirm the given strength, given value of the strength. Now coming to the characteristic load, as I said that load may also not be same all the time. So that is why there may be some probability of the load, it can exceed to the defined value, or it may decrease from the defined value. So characteristic load is also defined as per IS code. It is the load that is not expected to be exceeded with more than 5% probability during the lifespan of the structure. So for example, if I have calculated that on this structure will carry this load P. Now, what is the probability that this load will not exceed in the future? So it says that only 5% probability will be there that it may exceed with its magnitude. So that is the definition of characteristic load. So that load which will be having 95% probability that it will not exceed from its magnitude. Now, what is for 5%? Because we know that there are probability that, there are probability of 5% that it may exceed. So in that case, we will introduce a factor which is called the safety factor. Similarly, in case of characteristic strength, as I said that at least 95% of the sample should confirm the design strength or the given value of the strength. Now, what we do for the remaining 5%? Now, because of this uncertainty of 5% sample, we introduce the concept of safety factor, and now we will talk about those safety factor in the next part. Thank you.